everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War Staying on Track event, in which the tracker is added to the game. If you are a Nintendo Switch version, the other version of the event will be in the top right corner if you just want to go click on that icon. But for everyone else, let's go over the tracker. So it is coming in with brown, green trait stones. This would mainly be used for Soothsayer early on in the game, as well as Tracker himself, because he's actually not horrible. And later on in the game, you'd most likely just want to put into Sylvani Mora for his Perpetual Entangle, and into other mythics from there. But basically, as far as this troop is concerned, it is pretty much a mix of everything. Has a okay amount of green and red. This is normally going to miss, but as long as the board is populated with it, you're at least going to get some of that mana. It then ends up summoning 1 or 2 Direwolves. Direwolves, despite being a common, are an extremely strong common, because not only do they have Entangle and Hunter's Mark, but they also end up getting 4 times additional skull damage, 2 times based on the Entangle, and of course 2 times based on the Hunter's Mark. But where this troop really shines is basically his traits. All 3 of them are insanely good, especially for an ultra rare. Like himself, he ends up placing Eagle's Eye, which is a trait that's almost on nothing, but anything they ever put it on is going to be pretty good. It ends up placing Hunter's Mark whenever it does skull damage, and this does apply before the skull damage, so it's going to be doing 2 times damage to basically every single thing it ever touches, assuming they do not have immune to Hunter's Mark. On top of that, it has a really interesting combination of having a 50% chance to ignore armor, making it very similar to that of a Crimson Bat, in that it could have a potential 4 times multiplier, whereas this technically does 2, even though it only gets 2 times from the Eagle's Eye. Technically, you can kind of consider a 50% chance to do true damage as another 2 times multiplier, because if you're just hitting HP instead of the armor, you're pretty much negating out half of their durability. And more often than not, that will be enough to one-shot any troop it touches 50% of the time. So that is pretty good, to say the least. Maybe not the absolute best of first slots, because it doesn't have any skull mitigation or any way to really dodge away from other skulls that might hit against you. But from an offensive perspective, it is a really good first slot, as well as second slot if you want to use it as like a backup summon, or maybe even with 2 of them up front. And it has Nature Link, so you don't even need to set a +1 to this troop if you don't want, because he already has the +1 naturally on the troop itself. So it has a lot of potential in early game, mid game, and late game as a viable troop, so definitely highly advised to use. And yeah, great addition to the game that is not a completely useless event troop for once. Anyways, other event-related stuff. We have Tower of Doom this week. This is somewhat relevant this time around, as it is actually possible now to own everything in the game. For a while now, we've been missing that Green Doom, but now you can finally have the max amount of troops in the game, since that Green Doom has now been, of course, added to the game. Other than that, we have 10% to all Mugrim Woods, as well as 10% to all War Gear, which is like half the kingdom. You end up getting 40 souls if you end up using that new troop in PvP and Explorer. Not really too good of a bonus to go out of your way for. 40 souls is one of the weaker bonuses that you can end up getting from one of these events. However, it's still okay, and will keep racking up if you are using it just for various PvP battles. And other than that, we also get a bunch of event gems this week from doing Red Kills and Explore. Do keep in mind, though, it is a Vault event this weekend for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so you probably want to wait until then before you do this, because you're going to want to farm a bunch of gnomes, so you're already going to be in Explore anyways, so really no need to go out of your way to do this. Basically just wait until this weekend, go to whatever kingdoms you're going to be farming trait stones from while you do the gnome event, and just grab it on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, since you'll be able to get pretty much more loot than you'll even get from this, just from the gnomes themselves. But of course there'll be a good addition on top of it. Anyways, other than that, as far as the event key drop table, is it worth opening? No. There's pretty much nothing within this drop table that is insanely good. There are a few things here and there that you may want to consider picking up, but for the most part, this is a week that you could consider just skipping the entirety of it. As far as drops, Cockatrice, though you probably already have it, is a rare that you can end up getting that's pretty decent from this kingdom. Spirit Fox and Ultra Rare, these are things that you pretty much probably already have just from various drops. But as far as the kingdom's concerned, it's kind of weird, because like most of the better troops in this entire kingdom are commons, ultra rares, and rares. So there really isn't much of a need to open event keys, since you probably already naturally have these. I think the only really good troop in this kingdom that is not, or that is actually of a higher rarity, is probably Forest Guardian, which gives a 50% mana start to beast. However, there's currently nothing meta that it really runs around at the moment, so you don't really need it. And compared to all the other double converts, there are plenty of other double converts that are better than a Forest Guardian. So pretty much, I would say skip event keys on this week, as there's not really anything worth going for this time around. As far as guild events, we of course have the Tower of Doom. We ended up getting a pretty nice weapon out of it. similar to all of the other Doom weapons that do a lot of damage. This one basically does the same thing, except it converts brown into Doom Skulls, so pretty good weapon since brown is pretty good right now, so you could use that as a counter to it. Do keep in mind that things like the portrait and the emoji pack are pretty deep into these events, to a point that it might not actually be worth going for these. They are normally you'd only go for like about tier 4 or so, just to be able to pick up the weapon. And they are on tier 5 and tier 6. They're actually really, really deep this time around. So I'm personally not going to be going for them because that's a whole nother 850 gems compared to where I normally go. And tier 4 across your entire guild is normally enough to get this event done, unless you're really trying for leaderboard for the useless gems, which you're probably just going to be spending anyways in the useless dooms. They could just use blue orbs to obfuscate around anyways. So yeah, not really much of a need to go for these. Do keep in mind, if you do not go for these, like I will not be for once this time around, you can get them in about 2 to 3 months after the fact. If I'm not mistaken, portraits are going to be, as well as titles, if you happen to not get them, I believe are around 25 gems when they end up coming around about 2 to 3 months later. And the emoji packs, if I'm not mistaken, are 125 gems. We'll find out in about another month or two once the first ones start rolling back around. But do keep in mind, you will be able to reobtain these in the future for basically less gems than you'd buy them now. The only real benefit of buying them now is, of course, you get all the other benefits, and you get them immediately instead of having to wait months until you actually are capable of obtaining them. Anyways, as far as teams, we'll go over that in a moment. Let's go over the other few things real quick. As far as Tuesday, we have Primal Rift. On Wednesday, we have the attack bonus Guild War pet thing, the Finnicate. On Thursday, we'll end up having Warden, which is the class for the kingdom. And then, as I mentioned, on Friday and for the entirety of the weekend, we will have a Vault event. You'll be able to get a bunch more Vault keys, and you'll be able to have a higher chance of finding gnomes, as well as specifically Vault keys from those gnomes. As far as Soulforge this week, we have ourselves one thing that is worth crafting, and that is Infernus. Infernus is a really good first craft, so if you haven't done your first craft yet, definitely something good to consider. Has a really high amount of damage, distributes that damage in a way that it can kind of bypass the merge and barrier, ends up getting a decent amount of its mana back, has a storm into itself with an explosion, which is really good synergy, ends up getting a capability of burning all enemies as the best burn option in the entire game, and just overall has a lot of things going for it. Really high overall damage, easily can reaccumulate its mana, and just overall a great damage source and great first mythic to have. So if you haven't already crafted him, highly advise to do so. He's not one of the absolute best mythics in the entire game. However, he just covers so much ground with everything that he does that he's normally versatile enough that you do want to have him as your very first mythic and just utilize him into various teams that can feed him either yellow, red, or even just Mountain Crusher explosions and stuff like that, feeding him his mana and using him as a primary damage source. Anyways, other than that, let's go and not buy any of those and go into some teams now. So there are several teams I kind of want to mess around with and show and do some things with. So first are the trackers, a cheap tracker, a mid-range tracker, and a higher tracker. We'll do two of them, the mid-range and the higher one. I won't be doing the cheap one just because it's late in the game. It'll probably flop, but if you had absolutely nothing to use it with, Dryad to feed a green and HP and barrier to keep them alive. Also has Nature Link. Skeletons with a +1 onto your banner, which will allow you to get his full mana within 2 turns ideally, as long as one of them surge. And then he can get some skulls into an automatic extra turn, which will allow him to utilize his very easy to trait ability. And other than that, Dark Maiden to feed more HP to your first slot, as well as converting yellow into anything you want, which you would normally do into something like green in order to feed both of them back to full mana. And every single thing on this team has Nature Link except for the Skeleton, allowing you to get those greens at a much quicker rate and basically kill everything out with Tracker. There's also room to put your hero there if you really need to, most likely off of Dark Maiden. Anyways, next up, and let's actually use this one, a double tracker, Mountain Crusher, and Apophysis. And then we'll go to the higher range one. So this is something that you can use if you have no mythics with it. It's basically the double thing I was referring to earlier. Basically what we're going to want to do here is just start getting our mana up, and then just go straight into as much skull spam as we possibly can. And of course, as the backup plan of summoning dire wolves, since we have 2 of them, we'll easily be able to get a whole army of dire wolves, or I should say a whole pack of dire wolves. Haha. Anyways, what do we need here? Let's go grab that. Start getting Mountain Crusher up just so we have a backup option for mana accumulation. And then we basically just keep setting up the board to just demolish everything with those. And of course, we could feed it back with red and try getting more greens back onto the board just to repopulate. So it looks like we have no browns here, so we'll go for one of these just to get it down. Looks like it does completely flop, unfortunately, now. Let's see, what options do we have? We'll probably, I almost want to go for another one at the moment. Well, let's do that for now. Trying to wait till we can get those skulls and just start hitting it down with a bunch of them. I think we can finally get our mana going here. Do we have an extra turn here, though? Doesn't look like it. Now we do, okay. So now we can start putting that down. Have Mountain Crusher, so we can easily go recycle that again. Again, at this point, since they do not have immune to Hunter's Mark, we have a 50% chance that this right here will just kill. Unfortunately, it didn't, but it looked like you just got a follow-up, so it doesn't even matter that it didn't. It doesn't look like we'll need the board clear yet, so it is so tempting at this point. We'll throw this down one more time. Actually, then again, we'll actually go for the board clear now, because I need more, we need more greens on the board at the moment, or at least more skulls next to the greens, I should say. So we'll go get this down so we can go repopulate the greens again. Throw that down one more time if we need, which I believe we will. And hopefully that doesn't miss with how populated the board is. And of course it still misses. And our Hypothesis goes down. I gotta do that. But we'll go get that up. He doesn't have any direct damage. All of his damage, of course, comes directly from skulls. We're gonna do that to us. Move our hero to first slot. Maybe doing that. Okay, let's go and get that done again. But we'll be, of course, be able to constantly keep replacing with Dire Wolves if we truly, truly had to, as an absolute backup plan, which also ends up doing basically a 4x skull method. It entangles and Hunter's Marks the first enemy, and it ends up getting 2x on entrapment, meaning it can have 4x damage. First, this troop, while it doesn't directly have 4x damage, it technically does with the 50% there. So it just has a more indirect way of doing pretty much the exact same thing. There we go with the double skull there. Not the most ideal way for that to go down. I just kind of want to show a little bit more of a mid-range one. If I am going to be using it, I'm probably going to be using it as something a little bit more like this team right over here. So this is Tracker up front, Essence of Evil, Hypothesis, and of course Wild Queen. The most annoying part about this team being actually owning a Wild Queen. Be able to hold down the team. But basically what we'll do here is we'll throw down all those browns right over there. He'll just take a skull over there. It should be fine. We can just go and... what do we even grab here at this point? Let's see. I guess we can just take this middle skull. He's going to take one pretty much regardless of what we do. So I'll actually try for some brown there. I'll end up getting that. Biggest issue with this troop, it dies so easily. It does not have any skull mitigation whatsoever. So, yeah, a lot of the time it is actually going to die, which is not good. And one of the reasons I probably won't be using it for, like, a main team or anything like that. Definitely a fun troop to mess around with, if nothing else. But we'll go try getting this down. I'm actually not... yeah, I'm actually not going to hit it on this first slot. Ooh, bad decision. Oh, and we get entangled off it. Oh, and he dies. Oh, no. What happens? Let's see. We'll go... don't even have the ability right here. We'll just have to go and disable that out. Luckily, those explosions kill that. Doesn't look like we have a follow-up, though. No extra turn? No extra turn. So we'll have to just go drop that, get another Essence of Evil. Disable out another thing on his team. His first slot is cursed, so we can go for a full disable now. Even though he normally has Impervious, that will be enough to just wipe it out. But, yeah, we'll need to go show that again. We didn't even really get to show him because he dies so quick. Which is one of the big issues with things that don't have any skull mitigation up front. Does this occasionally happen where they get the bad boards and they just die out. Haven't really got any of the really quick battles, but that can happen with various skull spam teams sometimes. Yeah, even like Wrath teams. Like Wrath, that gets to survive in first slot, is insanely good. But Wrath can also just die within like one turn because there's no way to really reduce down the skull damage that he ends up taking. And quite a few good first slots actually really have that big problem, or at least the ones that have extremely high damage output, is they have such a ridiculously high damage output, but they have absolutely nothing that allows them to actually stay alive in first slot. Which is one of the reasons why things like Titan and stuff tend to be used in first slot, or other similar hero classes, like Plague Lord, like we're using right now, that can basically just constantly stay alive and never really die, and can still use options like Mang to have really good offense. While it might not be as immediate, still gets a really good offensive option. Oh, we're entangled right now, aren't we? That's not gonna work. Trying to skull spam him while entangled. That's definitely not a good mix, and he just dies to that. Anyways, let's go get that down one more time and then go into some green teams for the event. But I kind of want to get this at least working once. Can't not have that happen, so we'll go for against this. He's actually using the new weapon that just came out too. Not showing anything with that because it's pretty standard as far as how the weapons work. It's the same thing as all the other ones, just converts out a different color and uses a different color. Very rarely would you ever bring it out, but, you know, it's just one another standard Doom weapons. So, I don't know why, but why is everyone running with that hero class that entangles at start of battle? That's a bit annoying. Also, it's not a gnome event yet, but we did find a gnome. Okay, I don't want to take the... wait, does that give him extra turn? Yeah, that gives him extra turn off for red. Which, given that he has a red gnome right now, that is not what we want to do. Definitely want to try to make sure that doesn't escape. Kyrie better not hit green, so there's really no way to stop her. At least we got one. The mana's up. Okay. So I think we can work with this board. Let's get this down. Please don't miss. Of course you miss. Feeding him all the reds he needs to escape. Good job. Okay. We're entangled too, so I can't even really go and like skull spam there. I'm going to leave it though as an option that we can go for it if we get unentangled the following turn. Looks like we can't yet though. We do have a drop over there that we can just grab and get that to full. No real point in trying to cast his ability to try to keep this thing going. Mainly because he's just going to go and probably still be entangled anyways. So like if we cast right now, obviously we can next turn there, but while entangled, that is not really the way to go. So we'll stick that for now. Probably Essence of Evil if he's still not. Okay, there we go, finally. So we do have alignment right now, so now we can pretty much just tear everything down. And ideally we'll keep hitting the 50% chances to instant kill and just keep wiping them out in one shot. It's basically what he has, 50% chance, instant kill, one shot, every single thing he touches basically, and just go from there. Looks like we don't have it here, so we just go into a Wild Queen. We could also just Essence of Evil it, which I guess we'll do at this point. Get that down. And pretty much any poke we do at this point will kill it. And we have it right over there in the corner. We'll just go kill it that way. That's more along the lines of how I'd expect it to work. And we get to just use some useless gold off the gnome there. Anyways, Tower of Doom teams. Let's get into those, except let's do it on something that's actually a real team. Of course, this isn't Tower of Doom, but we'll be messing around with it later tonight with actual Tower of Doom. So, the first one, Yasmin's Pride, Apothecary, and building it into double Ketris. I'm just showing an Earthcaller here just so I wouldn't forget to mention it. But Earthcaller does have the whole attack, life, armor bonus thingy. Anything that ends up having that with Yasmin's Pride is probably going to be the better way to go. What I'm personally going to be using for the event is Yasmin, or most likely, I might end up adjusting some. But as it currently, based on current plans, what I'll be using is Yasmin's Pride, Apothecary, and double Ketris. We'll be showing a team right after this that uses something other than Yasmin Pride. But for now, this is basically my game plan for rolling down the event this time around. Ketris, of course, gains quite a bit of a benefit from the extra life that we end up getting. Oddly enough, we actually got some benefits from his explosions right there. Of course, while we don't actually have any explosions now, of course, during the event, we will have 4 explosions at start of battle. So kind of convenient that that triggered right now, because that's the exact thing that's pretty much going to be happening during the event. So, pretty nice. But of course, all you do with this is keep poking it. You throw it a few times once you reach the later delves. And then you just keep poking with Ketris, throw Ketris again, and just wipe out his entire team slowly over time. And that's pretty much how this team will roll. You just get up basically infinite HP off of that. Use it with something like Titan so you never die on first slot, combined with your HP, meaning basically your entire team never dies. And you just slowly chip them down with Ketrises. And that's basically the premise I'll be rolling with. However, there's a cheaper way to run it. And this is actually super cheap. Uses ultra rare and below. However, this does require ideally a level 70 archer hero class or a level 70 thief hero class. Thief would be the better option. However, either or can be used. And I should probably go show the trait trees. There's 2 really noteworthy traits that you need to have on your hero class in order for this to work properly. And archer and thief both have this combination. It is the 35% chance to summon a bandit whenever an ally dies, as well as why you need level 70 on it. A 25% chance to summon a Heronif whenever an ally casts a spell. Everything else is just extra, and based on all the extras, Thief does have better options, because it does have things like Stealthy, 7% instant kill. However, that doesn't work on the Doom, but it works on everything else that you might encounter. It also has a third summon option of a 20% chance to summon a Sister of Shadows when an enemy dies, meaning it has 3 instead of just 2, like what Archer has. Whichever one you happen to have upgraded to level 70, use that. Use Thief if you have Thief that high. And it is Black Beast, Thief with Mang, which is a really weird combination, but it does work out. Apothecary, and Leprechaun. This was the absolute cheapest team I could possibly think of that ends up working for this. So basically what you do with this is after all your potion, sugar, and everything, go throw your Leprechaun down. This will get your initial mana, and likely almost everything to full mana at that point. From there, you're going to want to go and most likely cast your Mang or Apothecary. Apothecary if you don't already have Mang, or Mang like right now if we already do. Throw that on most likely its first slot so you can start hitting it with skulls. And from here, if you didn't already cast your Leprechaun, throw the Leprechaun down. And now we'd want to go and basically get rid of our Leprechaun. And we're going to constantly keep getting rid of whatever our last slot is. We'll be able to resummon by constantly either getting kills or from any of those 3 conditions. Whenever an ally dies, 35% chance, a 20% chance whenever an enemy dies, and a 25% chance whenever we cast. So if our Apothecary was to go and cast, or our Mang or anything else, we would be able to get that. One other thing that you'd be able to do is once you feel like you have enough summons going on, you'll be able to just use your Black Beast to kill out your hero, and all the attack that you've gained from Mang will simply go straight into your Black Beast. Basically, you're running an entire team just entirely off of Black Beast. And as you saw right there, we have a 25% chance to summon every single cast we do. And by doing that one cast, we were able to just get a Hero Nif in last slot, which we can simply just go and devour, and basically just turn this into an infinite stat tank that we'll just kill everything with. And when we need to, we just kill out our hero with Mang, basically get that to 1,000 attack, or, a really ridiculously high attack value. Obviously, in Dooms, once you start getting later, it's pretty much going to be 1,000 attack. And you just keep killing things off that way. Also, alternatively, because Apothecary has immune to Devour, if you don't really have any options, you can go and cast a Black Beast and then cast it on your Apothecary, and it will not devour it. It'll simply just create 6 skulls and bring him to 0 mana. It will not heal him or anything, but it'll create 6 skulls if you want to do it that way. And other than that, if you are going to go for that option, keep in mind that the 25% chance to summon a Hero Nif does trigger before Black Beast gets to target. So, for example, you can cast Black Beast and not have a thing to devour. Like, let's say right now, we don't really have a proper thing to devour unless we want to go devour a Mang or devour Apothecary without getting the actual devour. However, there is a 25% chance that as soon as we click his ability to cast, that it will summon a Hero Nif, and then we can simply just go target that Hero Nif that he summons. So it ends up working out quite conveniently, since 25% of the time, he will end up having an option, even if he doesn't have an option. Let's see if I can get it here just to show it. Oh, no, I wasn't able to. But, like, right there, there's a 25% chance that a Hero Nif would have summoned, and then we could go target it. However, since it hasn't, we'll just go kill our Mang. And as you can see, there's a 35% chance to get a Bandit, and it can occur even on when your hero dies, as you see right there. And that's pretty much the game plan. You normally wouldn't kill out your hero that quickly, though. I just did it just to show it. But, yeah, from here, you just take basically one-shot everything with Black Beast. And, of course, this does scale upwards because of Mang, regardless of what their stats are. They can have 300 attack, and boom, you just got 300 attack on your Mang. And you can simply go devour that and make Black Beast attack similarly as high. Also, worst comes to worst, you can just run Mang. Keep in mind, even though it's restricted to the color of green, you are allowed, of course, to use any color hero weapon you want, which is why we're allowed to get away with a brown-red hero weapon like that, since it doesn't matter what your hero weapon is. It only cares if your other 3 troops are green. And of course, the Apothecary I didn't really mention is mainly here to create browns, to feed both of them, and more so for the cleanse, just in case you get death marked or any other stats effects that may end up being annoying. And that, to my knowledge, is the cheapest possible team you can get away with for this event. And yeah, that's pretty much the game plan. And of course, I'll be running with just double catchers for it most likely, if you happen to have Yasmin, so along the lines of more so probably what I'll be using for it. But anyways, guys, if you still have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a wonderful week. Goodbye, everyone.